think I grew up in Delhi, and like I was very good in sports. My brother was good in sports, and like, so what should I do next? So, okay, let's prepare for CAT. So I went back to my childhood, which was generally a happy childhood, and that image of Kanchenjunga came to me. It could be Mount Everest, it could be entrepreneurship, it could be getting into IIM as well. Basically, put them in a one of the opportunities I would say specifically for India is that there are so many destinations.
Hi, and welcome to yet another episode of IIM Ke Baad, the place where you meet all IIM alumni across all IIMs and across all years and graduation. Today we have a special guest. We always have special guests, but today is a bit more special because he is a very accomplished person, and most of you, just by the name, would recognize Hemant Soreng. So, Hemant, first of all, welcome to this episode. Welcome, and thanks for taking the time out. For us and for our guests.
Thank you. Thank you for
Now,
having me.
Hemant Soreng, for the very few who don't know him, I will not do his proper introduction because that's what he will do best. But he recently scaled Mount Everest. If I'm not mistaken, he is the first IM person to scale Mount Everest and a first of very few by a proportion of Indians who have ever scaled Mount Everest, or why just Indians, of anyone in the world who has ever scaled the summit of Mount Everest. Base camp तो बहुत लोग चले जाते हैं, मतलब not me, but बहुत लोग जाते हैं. So Hemant, we want to hear your story, and once again, welcome to IIM Ke Baad. We discuss here, as you already know, is we discuss why you went to IIM, what you have done during and after IIM, and then we discuss things of your personal interest. And I'm pretty sure we will discuss Everest and loads of things. But at the end, for all our viewers, we are going to have a case study of Hemant's choice of an industry that he knows very well without taking any thunder off right from the introduction. Wait and watch. We also have a prize at the end. So thank you. Welcome, Hemant. And off to you. Starting with, I am क्यों गए और कैसे गए?
Well, thank you again, guys, for having me here. And to answer that question, I think it was just a logical step uh, because so I grew up in the India of 80s, 70s, 80s,
दूरदर्शन,
दूरदर्शन, घर में फोन भी नहीं था,
चित्रहार,
चित्रहार,
हाँ,
नो कार, घर में कार, typical middle class kind of thing.
यस,
लाइट जाती रहती थी,
हाँ,
load shedding was a common
यस।
thing. I grew up in Delhi.
संडे को एक मूवी आती थी शाम को 6 से 9।
Right. So, that was the India that time, or we had very little, right, at home, or um, um we used to take notes. I remember I used to study for JEE or even IIM. I took notes from what my brother used to study. IMS, he studied for that. I just
यस,
used that.
IMS मी टू।
Right.
हाँ,
It's not that I enrolled.
हाँ,
I just because to save money, right? So that was the
हुँ,
India of that time, and it has changed over, of course, over the years for the better. But and there was a logical thing you used to do. Uh, there were very few opportunities at that time, so everybody either has to become an engineer or a doctor. अच्छा, बच्चा पढ़ाई में अच्छा है तो चलो इन दोनों से कहीं और नहीं करो, right? So that was the same. Like my parents were school teachers, both of them. They moved to Delhi in the 60s from Jharkhand. At that time it was Bihar, and since they were school teachers, there was a huge focus on studies at home. And like I was very good in sports. My brother was good in sports and other things. But of course, I mean, I was captain of my football team. All those things that didn't matter. नहीं पढ़ाई करना है and all that. So basically after school I did engineering. I went to engineering. So I studied in Delhi College of Engineering, and when I started studying there, 6 months later after the first semester I realized मतलब क्या कर रहा हूँ मैं यहाँ पे. But since you have
So,
come there,
Hemant, DC, you went to DC, you got in DC, which I don't know right now, but since I grew up around the same time in the 90s, DC में भी कोई जेई का exactly ठीक है. अगर चार IITs में नहीं हुआ तो DC was like the close fifth or sixth or something like that.
correct. Yeah, yes,
DC was
absolutely. I
like
mean,
another IIT in the waiting type of thing for a Delhiite like me. So you got in DC. So आपने जेई
Right.
क्रैक काइंड ऑफ कर दिया या नहीं किया, डीसी का एग्जाम क्रैक कर
second
दिया और डीसी
second
में हो
year
गए
JEE,
और
yes,
मजा नहीं आया.
yes.
So where did you grow up in Delhi? Which area? Which east, west, north, south?
So,
क्या
so
वो है?
South Delhi, Southern Enclave, that area, basically.
Okay, okay, okay. So Safdarjung Enclave, and you said uh, where did you do schooling?
I studied, I graduate, I mean, I did my schooling from Sardar Patel Vidyalaya, SPV, as they call it
Sardar
in short.
Patel. Wow. Wow. No, no, SPV, I still remember, again, back in the day, because schools की rankings, I'm sure, change हो जाती है 25-30 साल में. But back in the day, it used to be like a great school. It was not that far from where I studied, which was Columbus. But बहुत सही स्कूल था और स्पोर्ट्स में हमसे बेटर था. क्रिकेट में वी यूज्ड टू, या क्रिकेट में हमारा होता था कलम्बन ओपन, और उसमें एसपीवी से कभी कभी मुलाकात होती थी, कभी नहीं होती थी, एंड ऑल दैट. बट आई वोंट bore our viewers on that detail. But which years, when did you graduate from school? 12वीं,
So
12th?
I graduated in 1990. I took a year off, and
90.
then, yeah, and then I joined DC in 91.
So you took a year off,
Yes,
and then you,
as in basically I was
between DC,
preparing. Yes, between
yeah.
school and DC. So I was
So फिर
preparing
से
again.
जेई दिया, फिर से
हाँ, तो
जेई दिया.
basically नहीं हुआ तो DC, right? So तो वहाँ पे फर्स्ट ईयर मेरा आई रियलाइज कि मतलब ठीक है, लेकिन डू आई हैव टू स्टडी लाइक नेक्स्ट 3 years लाइक दिस, तो लेकिन करना तो था ही, राइट? सो 4 साल निकाले. आई वाज स्टडिंग इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स एंड कम्युनिकेशन, and but college is not just about studies. I mean, that's what I feel, and I feel more about that, on the hindsight after so many years. In fact, abhi 2 week pehle I went to DC. Now it's called DTU, by the way, Delhi Technological
या.
University. So
और
they
कैंपस
had,
भी चेंज हो गया ना, कहीं मूव कर गया
yes,
कैंपस फ्रॉम
they
द
are in
90s
Rohini now.
से.
It's a big campus. हम लोग, we were
या.
on a Kashmiri Gate, Chota campus, all those things were
हाँ.
there. So there
हम्म.
was an incoming batch. The incoming batch size was around 2,500 students. Okay, huge. Like our batch size was really small. Of course, they have added other courses like bachelor in design and all that. So, I mean, I was there to address the incoming students, and it was an amazing feeling to go back. But again, I think I'm digressing. But when I was there, and sorry, the reason I was said that was that the thing that academics is everything, and that was there during our time. That entire shift has happened. Even our
Okay.
principal, dean, everyone who came, there were a lot of our chief guest, there were other professors. Pick my case founder was there. Everybody said that to the students, studies is one thing, but please join non-technical societies, do things, get hobbies, do those other things beyond, participate in college festival and things like that. So that really came out. It was not there during our time, which was great. And of course, I had the same similar thing to say to the students. But when I realized, going back to my when I started studying in DC, I realized that okay, abhi join to kar liya, now I have to finish it off also, and then we'll see after 4 years. And in the
Yeah.
meantime, there were those other things happened, right? Those other, be it college festival, be it sports. I was, part of college football team also. There were friends you make, you go travel with them, backpacking trips to Rajasthan. All those things happen. So I think that's a great thing. I mean, that's a great experience. I had during college, and after that, you realize that okay, like in the final year or third year से you start realizing अरे ये सब करते करते पढ़ाई तो नहीं की, right? तो नौकरी कौन देगा? Okay. So, I mean, placements, and again, there were, if it's not like placements of today, only handful of companies used to come, right? So, padai, like, so what should I do next? So, ठीक है, let's prepare for CAT and other MBA. So basically, यही हुआ. And I remember Delhi. university to a large extent you would also know. And I think that that year, the final year, uh, कुछ strike हो गई अपने college में, right? I think some profs or something.
अच्छा.
So basically हमारे लिए छुट्टी, right? We didn't go to for months. It happened for months. So we had enough time to prepare for CAT and other this thing. And I remember a lot of DCites that year got into IIMs.
So you prepared for IIM because strike हो गई. But कैसे किया? Who inspired you? Why did you even think कि IIM?
So actually, when you are, I mean, in DC, I mean, everybody knew of IIM, and everybody was preparing for it. So, of course, you're right. You know, DC is among the top engineering colleges, and the quality of students are very good. I'm not trying to brag here, but uh, uh, and there's a lot of awareness of what is happening. और उस समय opportunities भी कम थी. And मेरे घर में ही, right? My brother graduated from IIM Bangalore in '94.
Okay.
So there's, I mean, as I told you, right? Within our, like, my elder sister is a doctor. My brother went, I mean, he was in BITS, and then he went. Sorry, he was in BIT Misra, and then he went here. So there was, of course, there's that expectation also, and ghar, and when you go in the college, your friends, everybody is, अच्छा क्या करना है, क्या करना है. Somebody is going to do MS in the US, but scholarship का पंगा, scholarship नहीं मिली तो पैसे तो नहीं है घर में, right? So there are things like that. So okay, let's try for MBA, CAT, and other institutes. So I think it's a mix of all this. So that's why I started preparing for CAT.
But कैसे किया? How did you prepare? But since you said कि most of your batchmates
IMS notes
be
from
preparing.
elder
Yes,
brother.
I am. It was
IMS
largely
notes
I.
from elder
It was
brother.
largely IMS notes from elder brother, and of course he gave me a lot of this thing. And we had, I mean, my friends, everybody was preparing for it. We used to exchange notes. We used to talk about it, and within my group, actually, we were, yeah, group. Like I was in electronics. I think 10 of them, the 40 may say 10 of them went into IIMs. And
Oh wow,
yeah,
wow, that's a large
yeah.
that's a
Oh,
large
that's a
contingent.
huge.
Yeah.
And of course, across DC, a lot
Huh,
of people
huh,
went. And I'm saying out of 40,
huh.
20 went into, let's say, XLRI, this MDI, FMS,
Oh,
so
okay.
IMT. So it was a huge 50% of my electronics class went to all these, top MBA institutes at that time. So,
Oh
so
wow.
everybody
Yeah.
was preparing for it. Everybody was talking. So you will, talk about it, exchange notes. So basically, that environment, it helps. But
Was there?
yes,
Oh, definitely.
and
Definitely.
I have met a lot of younger, students or people who are, let's say, either studying for JEE or studying for, CAT, and who have not have this kind of a background, and they struggle. So while they may be
Mm,
very bright, but this kind of
mm.
environment really helps. So one of the points which Vix mentioned about humility, and I thought I'll build upon that. Uh, I think it's one of the things, especially after Everest, I've been invited to many talks, and like almost like two talks every week. So all my weekends are out doing this. But there's one message I want to give out at each and every talk or interaction that I'm having is uh, that I'm a normal person like anyone else, and this can be done by anyone else. I mean, it could be, anything. It could be Mount Everest. It could be entrepreneurship. It could be getting into IM as well. So it's very much possible if you work towards it. Of course, there is some sort of hard work process. All things are there. Of course, a bit of, I won't call it luck, but maybe yes, fortune does is that invisible power is there. Of course, especially after Everest, I started believing in it more. So yeah, so I think to what Vic said, I completely agree that all of this
हेमंत,
can
मैं
be done by
इस बात
anyone.
पे
मैंने again, you've done a lot of podcasts, which some of them I watched. Another thing that I saw that was special about you was कि you were willing to be vulnerable. तो देखो, अगर आप बाहर बैठे हो और आप कहते हो मैं बहुत बड़ा स्टड हूँ और मैं माउंट एवरेस्ट चल गया, तो that doesn't inspire people. But when you're willing to be vulnerable and you are willing to show that, look, I have a bunch of issues too, but I still was able to do it. That allows me to connect with you. That allows me to say कि यार ये भी normal बंदा है यार. आपने जो भी जो normal word use किया ना, and you allow that vulnerability to come to that. Look, I get angry. Look, I don't want to go to the gym. Look, I don't want to exercise on many days. So that opening up, that vulnerability is what makes you inspiring, in my opinion. और मैं आपने जो दूसरी बात कही कि कोई कुछ भी कर सकता है, कि कोई भी आईआईएम जा सकता है, कोई भी माउंट एवरेस्ट क्लाइंब कर सकता है, उसमें मैं देखो थोड़ा सा शेड ऑफ ग्रे लाना चाहूंगा कि यार सब नहीं कर सकते, सब आईआईएम भी नहीं जा सकते, सब माउंट एवरेस्ट भी नहीं क्लाइंब कर सकते, क्योंकि मैंने जब मैं बड़ा हो रहा था तो मैं सोचता था कि भगवान ने सबको इक्वल इंटेलिजेंस बनाया है, गॉड गेव द सेम आईक्यू. बट देन आई लेटर रियलाइज्ड कि आई हैव फ्रेंड्स हु आर वे स्मार्टर देन आई एम. मैं उनकी आईक्यू कंपीट भी नहीं कर सकता. व्हाट आई रियलाइज कि भगवान ने सबको सेम नहीं बनाया है, भगवान ने सबको अलग बनाया है, बट एट द सेम टाइम भगवान ने सबको स्पेशल बनाया इन देयर ओन वेज. सो what I like to double click is that not everybody can get into IIM, but not everybody can climb Mount Everest, but everybody can find greatness in their life. And that greatness might be कि मैं म्यूजिक करता हूँ यार, मैं आईएम भी नहीं जा सकता, मैं माउंट एवरेस्ट भी नहीं कर सकता, पर मैं म्यूजिक कर सकता हूँ, या मैं खाना बनाती हूँ. तुम लोग आईएम गए, माउंट एवरेस्ट गए, मेरी जैसी पनीर बनाई है आज तक. तो आई थिंक everybody can find their greatness, but everybody may not be able to climb Mount Everest. I think वो थोड़ा सा shade of gray है वहाँ पे. But I think you meant the same thing. कि you equated climbing Mount Everest or getting to IIM was finding their greatness.
Yes, it's like a metaphor. I mean,
Yes.
Everest for me is different for Everest for you, right? And it's
So
about
well said.
finding your,
So
that your
that
Everest.
has to be the title of the show. Everest for me is different than Everest for you. And it's about finding your Everest. हेमंत, आपने बहुत ही अच्छी लाइन
मेरे को
बोली.
एक और चीज याद आ रही
हाँ.
है कि जब शुरू में बचपन में डेफिनेटली हम बात करते थे कि मतलब कि तू कितना महान है, तू कितना महान है, तो हमारा उसका कलोकियल वर्ड होता था, तूने कौन सा पहाड़ चढ़ लिया.
हेमंत ने तो पहाड़ चढ़ लिया है. हाँ, हाँ,
Hemant, you're from Delhi, you will
हाँ,
recognize that
हाँ.
colloquialism is कि तूने
Yeah,
कौन सा
yeah,
पहाड़
हाँ.
चढ़ा है.
yeah, yeah.
so अब now Hemant, you can rightly say कि कौन सा पहाड़ चढ़ा है.
But very well said, Hemant. I want to remember this line. So इसलिए मैं repeat कर रहा हूँ. I'm not repeating it for the viewers, maybe for myself. Everest for me is different than Everest for you, and it's about finding our Everest. And
Right.
and that might be having a great relationship with our parents. Like maybe I failed in that, or maybe having a great relationship with our siblings. That can be our Everest. So very well said, Hemant.
So Hemant,
So
coming back in terms of you decided कैट करना है, कैट की थोड़ी सी आईएमएस की अपने भाई की ले ली कोचिंग, उसके बाद क्या हुआ, कॉल्स आई, कहाँ से आई.
So you talked about कि आपने अपने ब्रदर की किताब से पढ़ाई करी. If you can a little bit expand on कि आपकी upbringing कैसी थी?
Right. So, see, I told you कि my parents were both school teachers. In
School
fact,
teachers.
uh, my father taught in Sardar Patel Vidyalaya. So
Oh,
my
अच्छा.
fees was less than the average student. Okay.
Hmm.
So otherwise, we as a household wouldn't have afforded Sardar Patel.
Wow. Hmm.
So that was so all three of I joined later. So did my other siblings. They were elder to me. As I said in the beginning, like most of the Indians, we had very little, and I used to take my study from my brother's books. Then I used to give it to my cousin who was studying like 1 year, like he was junior to me. So एक books, जाती थी सब
Yes,
जगह, right?
yes,
That's how it used
yes.
to be. And same as IMS. IMS was expensive, right? I don't
Yeah,
remember how
yeah.
much was it, but
नहीं, मुझे
you know
याद है
how
साढ़े
it,
तीन
it
हजार की
was.
फी लगी थी। हाँ, 1997 में साढ़े तीन
Okay.
हजार रुपए लगे थे।
हाँ.
उन्होंने किताबें भेजी थी।
We studied in good school and college, right? At least I told you, I was in Sardar Patel and DC. These are very good educational institutes. So that ecosystem helps you, and it's very competitive, right? The best brains are there studying with you. So so you are driven to,
My God.
even
Hmm,
if you're not better than them, at least be at some level,
hmm,
right?
hmm, hmm,
So that is a huge thing, and that's why, I mean, I see my classmates from school. They're doing very well in different parts. I mean, they went to SRCC, they went to DCE, IITs, medical colleges, all that, right? Same, my classmates in DC, they were into US, they did
hmm,
whatever, went to MBAs, they are doing very
hmm,
well. So all of that, matters. Who you are
hmm.
with, who are you
नहीं हेमंत, आप
studying
एकदम
with, who are you.
you literally the summary of life is coming down from a guy who's been on Mount Everest कि your ecosystem matters. The point that I was trying to make with growing up in a less rich household, the drive matters, ecosystem, drive, find your own Everest. Wonderfully said. What about middle class families now where the new generation, where their kids, they don't feel the scarcity that we felt? Where does the drive come in those kids? Or what can the parents do for those kids?
I mean, I really don't have an answer to that because I've seen the next generation. I mean, I'm not a parent myself, but I've seen
Mm,
my nephews, especially, and nieces. They're more privileged than we are, right? They
yeah,
have more things, more, like the parents are much well off than what our parents were. And the drive is not there, that what we
yeah.
had. So I think it's the, again, it comes to that, but if you put them in certain situations, or I don't know, if they're studying in India, send them abroad, okay, where they have it's a, basically put them in a zone of discomfort thing. And that's
Yes.
where, of course, and you can't just,
Oh my
and
God.
but
Oh
if
my
it's
God.
a
You
spoiled
आपने
kid.
you're dropping truth bombs. इसको zone of put them in a zone of discomfort. Miglani, make sure this comes out. Find your own Everest. Put them in a zone of discomfort. So yeah, please expand on that.
Yeah, basically, when you're in a comfort zone, you won't be able to do much because you're comfortable with everything. You're getting your food, जो कुछ चाहिए सब मिल रहा है. But if you're in a place where you don't have that, and there's no scope of getting that, so you'll have to do something yourself, right? It's survival, right? The Maslow's hierarchy में नीचे वाला. So you have to do that first, or sorry, Charles,
Wow, I have learned
survival of
I've learned
fittest, right?
something from you today,
Yeah,
Soren. Like I
yeah.
do very well when somebody can put it in words that I can understand and I can like so put them in the zone of discomfort. I think my daughter will मैं आपसे मिलवाऊंगा. She won't be very happy
She
about
will
that.
hate. She will
Yeah,
hate me.
put them in a zone of discomfort.
So I'm going back to your DC DTU days. कि मेरे माँ-बाप के पास पैसे नहीं है, बिज़नेस नहीं है, कुछ तो मतलब मेरा होने नहीं वाला है और मेरे पास ग्रेड्स नहीं है कि मेरी अभी कोई नौकरी लग जाए तो चलो हम कैट प्रिपेयर करते हैं और भाई के नोट्स तो हैं ही हैं, वो तो आईआईएम गया ही है, तो वो वाले नोट्स हम पकड़ते हैं और करते हैं। सो फिर क्या हुआ?
फिर मैं कैट दिया.
हुँ।
I think it went well. I mean, it did went well. That's why I got calls. I think I was pretty confident on various subjects.
बट उस टाइम पे सिर्फ 4
So
आईआईएम थे ना? देयर इज़
चार
एबीसीएल राइट?
चार चार आए हैं, करेक्ट, ABCL थे. तो मुझे
हाँ।
चारों से कॉल्स आई, इंटरव्यू कॉल्स चारों
Oh
से आई.
wow,
इवेंचुअली
wow,
आई
wow.
Okay, I'll tell you. So AMA, they were asking. I mean, it's been like what, more than 25 years now, but I still remember a few things. AMA, they were asking apart from what is what is information highway, things like that. Okay, and they were asking questions. They were asking capitals of some vague countries in the world. Okay, some
जीके
chota
जीके टेस्ट हो
African
रहा
country. Seriously, I'm
था
telling you. Seriously. तो मेरे कुछ दोस्त पहले अरे यार ये कैपिटल्स पूछ रहे इसका क्या है यार और वहां पे उस समय लाइक यू डोंट हैव इंटरनेट आल्सो राइट सो यू कांट गूगल अच्छा यार इथियोपिया कैपिटल एडिस अबाबा है या इसका कैपिटल ये है I was actually asking apart from other questions so it was like really like what basis are they doing that I mean and the usual questions what do you see yourself in 5 years and all that in Bangalore okay
हम्म,
so they asked me a few technical questions related to myself. I did electronics and communication, which I completely bombed, frankly. Okay.
हम्म,
So I mean, college में इतनी पढ़ाई करते नहीं थे, तो मतलब कि obviously that will happen. And then he said, okay, I think you played a lot of sports and did other things rather than study. So let me ask you about. So that time there was a test match happening between India and Australia. Okay, I remember that. So how many wickets did Shane Warne take? What was the score? I knew that by heart. Okay, so उसके
Okay.
this was like
statistics क्या थे? Seriously?
94, right? 94 था 95 था I'm just trying to remember which series you're
हाँ,
talking about.
in yeah 95 था.
95,
इंटरव्यू
अच्छा.
कब हुआ था मेरा 95 अर्ली 95 में हुआ
95
होगा हाँ
फेब में हुआ होगा,
करेक्ट
जैन
दैट वाज इन
फेब
द
में,
हाँ
right?
हाँ करेक्ट करेक्ट हाँ उसी समय करेक्ट हाँ तो उस समय देयर सम सीरीज हैपनिंग आई डोंट नो वेदर इट वाज हैपनिंग इन ऑस्ट्रेलिया और इंडिया आई थिंक ऑस्ट्रेलिया में हो रहा होगा बट दे आस्क्ड मी मैच स्टैट्स एंड अदर थिंग्स आई जस्ट cracked it you won't believe it I
तो
knew
पहले
each
पहले
bowler's
यू क्रैक द
figures
कैट.
and all that
पहले हेमंत, so you okay, you didn't have great good grades in DC, but you cracked the cat क्योंकि सारी कॉल्स आई थी.
Hmm. Hmm.
उसके बाद जो
Yes.
जो भी कॉल्स आई, फिर वो इंटरव्यू में एक मौका मिला एंड यू क्रैक दैट इंटरव्यू.
Hmm.
वो जिसको अब
Yeah, I
बिकॉज वी आर
mean,
टॉकिंग अबाउट क्रिकेट, उसको क्रिकेट में बोलते हैं ना, देखो मौका मारो चौका. बॉस मैंने हर साल मैं एलबीएस में इंटरव्यूज करता हूँ. आई विल टेल यू दिस वन थिंग, दैट यू प्रोबेबली गॉट इनटू आईएमबी in spite of that answer and the laughter rather than because of it. तो तूने कहीं और पे ज्यादा क्रैक मारा था कि उन्होंने इसको नजरअंदाज कर दिया.
नहीं, आई थिंक मैंने जो रियलाइज किया कि पॉजिटिव एटीट्यूड बहुत इन्फेक्शियस होता है और नेगेटिव एटीट्यूड भी बहुत इन्फेक्शियस होता है.
That's
तो
true.
आई थिंक हेमंत से जो आज हमें इंसाइट्स मिल रही हैं, तो आई फील कि पॉजिटिविटी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होती है लाइफ में. एंड आई थिंक try to keep yourselves away from the negative people. Try to surround yourselves with positive people. And please understand, positivity is a choice. मैंने और ये बोलना बहुत मुझे ना बड़ा गुस्सा आता है जो कहते हैं गोइंग टू द जिम इज अ चॉइस. नो, इट्स नॉट अ चॉइस. व्हेन माय बॉडी डजंट वांट टू गो, मैं नहीं जा सकता. मैंने ठीक है, बट तो उन लोगों को भी ऐसा ही लग रहा होगा जिनको नेगेटिव थॉट्स आते हैं कि यार पॉजिटिविटी इज अ चॉइस, कि तुम्हारे दिमाग के लिए चॉइस होगी, मेरे दिमाग के लिए चॉइस नहीं है. but but I but in whatever small way people can do, I think staying positive helps.
ठीक है. ओके, सो हेमंत, सो बैक टू द स्टोरी. सो कॉल्स आ गई, सब कुछ हो गया एंड यू गॉट बीएनएल.
I know. All my friends went to Lucknow. Like, I think they were seven, eight, six, seven from electronics batch who went to Lucknow. So my best friend went to Lucknow. But it had to be Bangalore. Like, it's a better, you know, all that. Uh, maybe agar, yeah. And to answer your question, between B and C, I think I would have still preferred Bangalore only. I would have still preferred Bangalore. Yeah. Somehow had because my brother studied there, and I heard so much about Bangalore, the weather. At least that time it was much cooler. उस समय AC भी नहीं होता था कैंपस में, right?
हाँ.
Yeah,
All that.
yeah. No, we
So
didn't have any AC.
right, yeah, same, yeah. So all those, it was worth it, right? Those 2 years were magical
या
in the
90
campus.
90s में तो
Amazing.
हमारे पास दिल्ली में भी एसी नहीं होता था. आई डोंट नो अबाउट यू गाइस, but I know and this is where we got back into civilizational comforts as people grow. But ठीक है. So 95 you get into IIM Bangalore और 2 साल वहां पे करे. I don't want to question you कि कितना अच्छा टाइम था, because we've been in IIM Bangalore, मजा ही आया होगा Bangalore का and IIMB का. But do you have anything कि something that बहुत highlight of your 2 years of MBA था?
I think there are many highlights. I think one was, and I'll go back to that comfort and discomfort zone. तो जब मैं दिल्ली में था, so I didn't stay in a hostel. I was घर में day scholar था, so I used to go that. And suddenly I am in a different city for the first time outside, my home, different city, unknown place, hostel. And I think that really, I think that was one of the main highlights. That comfort, discomfort zone, and how to, I think from a life skills perspective, forget studies or CGPA, all that, forget all that. But from a life skills perspective, it really taught me that what will, you get only so much money from home to start with. So how to use that? You have to do everything yourself, wash your own clothes, do everything, right? कुछ होता है, तुम देखोगे. And then you make friends, right? अपने wing mates या तुम्हारे group वाले या overall section के किसी को कुछ हो गया, you go out and help them. कुछ हो गया किसी को, वो सब होते रहता था, right? You really get close with people in a hostel, one, and you really know how to take care. I mean, this is for years to come. It prepares you for your life. I think that was the main highlight. And I'll come back, and one of the, you asked me an advice, Vix, for your daughter. I think send them to a hostel,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
out of home.
Yes.
It is, of course, I think an engineering hostel like जैसे हमारा DC का hostel था, I had friends they asked to go there. वो तो, you know, at least we had some decent food in IIM Bangalore. वहाँ पे I've eaten, वो सब facility सब नहीं था, right? Typical engineering, SRCC में you stayed in a hospital maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
So
Vix ने तो
uh,
DU में भी hostel किया है, like you, Hemant.
यार
हाँ
I
मैंने
was a day scholar
हाँ
in
हाँ
DU. But उसके
हाँ
बाद what you are saying is IMB also taught me वही same चीज कि यार इतना ही पैसा मिल रहा है घर में पॉकेट मनी वाला, क्योंकि उनको ही पता है, तो उसमें how do you allocate money allocation, ठीक है, कि
correct.
कितना
There's
आपको
the
सुट्टे
first
पे और शराब पे डालना है, कितना आपको देसन के एक्स्ट्रास पे डालना है, और कितना आपको
exactly.
जनरल एक्चुअल ऑफिशियल एक्सपेंसेस में
हाँ
डालना है.
हाँ स्टे फोटोकॉपी में डालना है, वो जो नोट्स फोटोकॉपी करते हैं. All
So
that.
it's like a balance. It's about asset allocation, जो विक्स आजकल कर रहा है. Uh, but I want to just go back in terms of what you just said, that it wasn't the day or the week or the month that you actually climbed Mount Everest. It was the 25 years before that were all every day of your life. That was the preparation when you were going up.
Okay, so I think I'll go a bit back in time on how it started. Uh, and I strongly believe that to climb Everest, for everyone, it doesn't start कि अच्छा एक साल पहले decide किया और जाते हैं. There's a story behind it, and it's about, you have to like things to do those things, right? When I was much younger, right, childhood में हम लोग We used to go to family vacations, either of the. So my mother grew up in North Bengal, right? Tea gardens that near Sikkim, Darjeeling, that this thing. So we used to go through that part of, and Delhi was closer to hills. So there's a lot of exposure to mountains. And I remember, I think as a 10-year-old, had gone to Sikkim. It was time it was so pristine. There were zero tourists at that time. And we were there. And I saw Kanchenjunga at that time. And I still have that memory even after 40 years, of that beautiful mountain. It just, stuck to me. And after that, I didn't do much about it. It was just there. And, and you get involved in your studies and college, MBA, uske baad kaam, all that stuff. And I remember that, um, and we didn't go trekking also. समय कुछ होता नहीं था. I didn't have money also while in college, all that. So basically, I'll come back to Vic's question, right, which is still there about Mount Everest preparation. I still haven't come to that. So during that time, when I was taking that sabbatical, suddenly you realize that you have enough time in the world to think. And before that, last 5 years, I was just running, 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 running. We used to work 16, 17 hours a day. I still remember that during startup days, Gilby. You just you lose track of what is happening around the world. And although we successfully exited, we did well, made a little bit of money, all those things. But somehow, I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't too happy generally about, but I don't know. And then I started asking those existential questions, right? Just 5 years into my work ex. Um, what made me happy, things like that. So I went back to my childhood, which was generally a happy childhood. And that image of Kanchenjunga came to me. And of course, I said, okay, maybe mountains is one question, is the answer. So I started trekking for the first time in 2005. So I did day hikes. I mean, I won't call them as treks. So in 2005, did my first trek. There's a trek called Pindari Glacier in Kumaon in Uttarakhand. I went for that. And after that, I just loved it. Of course, I did made a lot of mistakes, carried a heavy backpack, all those things, right? Carried books, thought I'll read along the trek. Of course, वो नहीं होता है. Sneakers पहन के, you're trekking, uh, and whatever, jeans लेके गए थे. All those things, like the wrong things you do. Then it's continued. I went to other trek. Every other year, I started doing that. And I started loving the process. And while you're doing trekking, you need to, be fit for that. So the sports person in me came back. Again, it made me happy, right? So I started running. I started running marathons and be fitter. So it all came together. I was generally, of course, it releases endorphins, of course. So it makes you happy chemically, but all that came together, and I continued doing that. And I realized that, and of course, after I joined somewhere, I was in Lenovo, and I was, doing pretty okay there. But I somehow, after I came back to the corporate life from my entrepreneurship, I couldn't fit into it. I could sense that. So I said, I need to get out of it and follow my passion. Now, I don't know what that was. For me, I think travel had become my new passion. Earlier, it was, internet, which was, I loved that medium, I loved that technology, but that something pulled me much more further. So, so I continued doing that. And then eventually, I started Rustic Travel. Right? With Rustic Travel, why it's not a pure play adventure travel company, it's a experiential travel. We do inbound travel, outbound travel. We'll talk about that in the case study section more about it. But there was a huge bias on adventure treks because mainly from me. So I started leading treks. I started leading expedition, and in the meantime, I started climbing mountains. So trekking is different, climbing peaks is different. There's more technical, there's more gear, equipment. And I tried enrolling for basic mountaineering course, but by that time there's an age limit to that. I had crossed that. So whatever training I had was on the mountains while actually climbing there. Be it first time wearing the mountain boots or how to use an ice axe, the knots. I'm a regular. I'm not regular, but I'm a part of a Bangalore rock climbing club here in Bangalore. So it gave you those skills. So it all happened practically, I would say, with each and every trek or climb as you went along. And I further tried to upskill myself in this field. So, for example, I did one very intensive course called WFR. It's Wilderness First Responder. So basically, what will you do if something happens to one of your mates in the outdoors? It could be a snake bite, it could be a broken arm, could be hypothermia, and or could be a heart attack. So, how to give CPR? So, it was an amazing, training I did, and it really helped me. I came to know about a lot of things. I came to know about medicines, what to do when, and it's a life skill, and it can be used in, let's say, a urban setting as well. So, all those things I've been doing for years, it mainly out of बाद में profession and passion merged into each other. I was doing that, but Everest was, it was too distant. But and I'll tell you one more story. In 2011, I remember I had left my corporate Lenovo corporate job and decided I'll never go back in 2010. So I had more time. And in 2011, I went to Everest Base Camp for the first time. This is like 13 years ago. And that time इतनी भीड़ नहीं होती थी जितनी आजकल होती है. But I went, and that time itself, Everest Base Camp was like an Everest to me because it's tough. 11 days trekking, all those. You don't know, right? That altitude you had never been. And
Hmm.
so we went
Can you
there,
tell
the
us
three of
the
us.
altitude of the base camp? Can you tell us the
So,
altitude?
yes, so base camp is at 5,364 meters. That's around 17
Okay.
and a half thousand feet. And
Okay.
yeah, and it's cold. It's the weather could change anytime, and it's not an easy trek, right? So I went there, and I remember it was first week of April, and this is the time when the climbers start from Kathmandu walking towards the base camp. So I met a
And
lot
how
of
long is that trek? काठमांडू से बेस
this.
कैंप कितनी किलोमीटर है?
So it's around 100 kilometers or so. Um, but it's mainly so in treks when people it's basically we look at mainly elevation, right? Because end of the day it might be 1 kilometer only, but it's like this.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
uh, right. So in the first week of April, when the climbers start climbing, like going towards the base camp, so I met a lot of such climbers who are going eventually to climb, and it was an amazing, you know, boy moment for me to meet those guys, talk to them across the world. You meet a lot of Sherpas who have done it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. It's amazing, right? You'll take pictures with them, sir, aapke saath le lein, all that. It's an amazing feeling. As somebody who loves mountains, who loves trekking, it was amazing for me. And so eventually, पहुंच गए base camp, photo khicha, all those things happened, and then we started coming back. So I remember there's a place called Namche Bazaar, which is there, and in so we were staying in a lodge there, tea house as they call it, there, and we were having dinner in the dining hall. And I saw across the room there's a lot of people with some heavy duty cameras and all that. So I asked my guide, "Kaun hai ye log?" So he said they're the BBC film crew. They're filming that guy. There's one guy sitting, there, sitting there, slightly old. So I asked him, Acha, so he's going to the Everest base camp. They are filming him. Is he a personality? I mean, known person? He said, no, he's not going to Everest base camp. he's going to summit Everest. Okay. Then I asked him, how old is he? He said he's 81 years old.
Wow. Wow.
So
Mm.
I was like stunned. Okay. And at 81, he would be the oldest person on Everest. So I went across the room, introduced myself, and took pictures with him, autograph liya, all that, and started talking to him. So he has a very interesting, background. So he was an Indian freedom fighter. His name is Shailendra Kumar Upadhyay. He was an Indian
Mm.
freedom fighter who eventually moved to Nepal after independence, and he was there, and he was the first foreign minister of Nepal when it became a democratic government, when it moved away from monarchy.
Mm.
And after
Mm.
that, he represented Nepal in the UN, etc. And he was there. And after this, after retiring, he started hiking, trekking, doing all that. So it was just amazing. I wished him all the best. फिर मैं वापस इंडिया आ गया. And internet में I used to keep on going to see कि, you know, if I hear about him, has he done it, not done it. So I started doing that. And while doing so, I came across one news article which said that during acclimatization, he died of altitude sickness.
Oh my God.
So,
Okay.
so that really was, I mean, I felt really sad, shocked. And I remember talking to a friend of mine, who in fact was my roommate in the first year in IIM Bangalore, a very cynical guy, but nice guy. Uh, and he said something out of the blue. He said that, at least he died doing what he loved the most. And that sentence just stuck to me. He died doing what he loved the most. So I started thinking, why don't we do those things what we like or love instead of doing things what others love or like,
Or
right?
before we die, let's do them before we die rather than die while doing them and leave it for too late.
Yeah, that too also. But I'm saying there should not be any age for, doing
Yeah,
anything.
yeah,
You can never be late to do anything as well. That you may not
yeah,
have done in your childhood, but yeah, you can start today also. So I
yeah.
think that was really an inspiration for me, and that's why it gave me the inspiration later on to start a travel company. The other option was to start a digital marketing company, which I was very well versed with, knew it. I knew it would become a success, would have made more money, sell it off, and then work for somebody else for 5 years. Then everything, basically you lose all the best years of your life. So I said that I don't want to do things which I've done in the past. I'd rather do something which is so I don't know. I thrive in discomfort zones. I mean, that's a person I am. So
So Hemant,
for
sorry.
me, yeah.
So when was this travel company set up, uh, in terms of years?
So
2005,
50.
6,
No, 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 no,
50.
no, no. This was after this. So
Oh,
2016.
right,
So
right. So
2016. So I left
2016
my
is when you started thinking, okay, ab, let's go
no, no,
after
no.
passion
2000.
and let.
No, after 2010, when I left my corporate thing, from there
Yeah,
time I was thinking, and in that time I was consulting, doing, almost set up a digital marketing company again with a partner, and
yeah.
we were doing well. But I'm saying there were a lot of things happened between that. I was figuring out
Hmm.
myself, discovering myself, and what those things. So then in 2014, 15, it just struck me that I need to do this.
So I want to just make sure I understand and some of our viewers कि 2010 में आपने सोचना शुरू किया और 14-15 में काइंड ऑफ इट स्ट्रक यू तो कई बार इस टाइप के लाइफ के पैशन को फॉलो करने के लिए इट टेक्स टाइम राइट इट डजंट हैपन ओवरनाइट कि यार आज एक वो बल्ब चमका और हो गया कल कल सुबह ये स्टार्टअप शुरू कर दिया. So you took your time and you started up कि मुझे करना क्या है, मुझे long term क्या करना है, what is my passion, what is my profession, and all that you got starting from 2015, right?
It all came together during that time. So actually, I remember it was it happened. मैं 2014 में I went to Nepal for another trek, Annapurna circuit trek, and actually during that time when I was doing that, walking, trekking when you walk alone, although there was a group of friends with you, but I think it just came very clear to me when I was in front of those mountains that okay, I have to do this only. It was like an epiphany. I can't
Hmm.
do things which I've done in the past. I have to find new things which I like doing. You as an individual grow with years. What you liked maybe 10 years ago doesn't stay on, which is fine. That's part of growth, and you have to keep on finding those new passions. So that's something which it came that okay, this is what you have to do. So that's how it came about.
No, so tell us the journey, because this startup journey is always the most challenging, and Vix has done it for a few times. I am only starting out right now. I've been starting out present continuous for the last one plus year. But how did that initial years of setting up uh, your travel company, and how did that work?
So it's not okay. I think I use that word. Entrepreneurship is not a bed of roses.
Hmm.
So but of course, I had done this in the past, and I mean, I had some experience of entrepreneurship, so I knew what mistakes not to make, at least, right?
Right.
Certain mistakes and how to
Yeah.
approach, which is don't spend too much, things like that. So,
Yeah.
do the basics, get customers, right? So, I was very clear that it's mainly going to be, and it's like a passion project. I mean, I really think of it long term, um, as in I don't want to sell it off even, or I want to retire with it only. It's like that long term. And I see around, right, all the big companies, they're like 50, 60. It takes time to build also, 50 years, 60 years, right? Microsoft, I'm not comparing Rustic Travel with them, but it takes time, right? There's a company which I really admire, a brand called Patagonia, right? Um, and Yvonne Chouinard, and he was a rock climber, and just I mean, really relate to him. And he's created an amazing brand called Patagonia, and it's not like and it's not even a public listed company, right? So everything doesn't lead into IPOs. I'm saying that's not the benchmark of success. There are other ways of doing that, and it does quite a bit for the environment. So there's a lot of giving back also which happens in a company, which I should think, okay, it's all about making money, but it's about making a meaningful impact also. I think that's where my vision for Rustic also came from. That it can't be just about you know making money. I was very clear. We don't want to become a unicorn. We really don't want. We just want, if we create a lot of impact, and when I say impact, there are three ways how we define it. Um, the pillars of sustainability, what we call. One is it should create local livelihoods, give jobs locally. It should help protect environment in whatever we do. And third, it should help preserve local culture. I think if we are able to do this in whatever we do, one or the other, if all three, great. I think every trip or every experience that we execute, we are there. So I think that became, and that has come over the years of experience of doing things, what you want, what you don't want. I really don't know what I want. I mean, it's all right to say that, but I really know that what I don't want. So uh, so I think that's
I think
how it
I think
started.
Vix is putting up your website.
What I
Yeah.
wanted to point out was when you talk with that kind of passion, right? It's not about making money, it's about making differences. That's when you get this. Look at some of these images. Like, I don't think companies that are focused on making money, they will have images like this on their website. You're talking about sustainable tourism, you're talking about taking an inner journey. And the other thing I noticed is that as soon as I Googled you, you have 42 reviews and all are 5 star. And travel agencies have one business where there's so many moving parts, right? There's so many moving parts. I've never seen a travel business with all 5 star reviews because everybody hates them. कि आज ये problem है, आज ये problem है, because there's so many moving parts. So and it comes down to that inner drive that you have.
Yeah. Actually, if you go to TripAdvisor, there are more reviews and more, yeah, almost all five
Yeah,
star.
again,
And
157 reviews, 5 star.
yeah,
Wow,
and
just unbelievable.
we,
Well done,
uh,
Hemant. And it comes
yeah,
from your
and
inner desire that you have.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and to let
Wow.
I'll just add that I won't call it a plug, but in TripAdvisor we got this certificate of excellence which they give based on reviews.
Hmm.
We got 2 times I mean 2 years in a row, and over 5 years we got 3 times. So I think
Wow.
again it's put it's basics, right? What Mr. Jha taught us. It's putting the customer at the
Yes.
center, right? So I see,
Yes.
I used to advise or mentor a lot of startups in Bangalore during my consulting days, right after I
Hmm.
quit Lenovo and others, and I still do. A lot of young entrepreneurs come up to me and talk, uh, and I see them. Many of them are they start company, they have an idea, and they start chasing investments. They start
Hmm.
attending events, networking events.
Hmm. Hmm.
When I ask them, okay, how are you chasing customers? They have no answer, right?
Yeah. Where are you
So the
getting customers from?
validation of any business model is when you have a customer, a successful, case, right? So that
Hmm.
is that is very important, and that I learned in my first stint because we started with that. Made a business plan geared to get invested, and then
Hmm.
we will do something, right? That's a very
Hmm.
wrong premise which I learned. It has to start
Hmm.
from, okay, where is that customer going, and then the delivery happens, and then
Hmm.
around it, then if you want to scale, then go for investments. And I'm not saying investments is not required. Yes, if you want to scale, if you
Hmm.
want to add a pivot into something else related, you should do that.
Hmm.
So I think
And
Hmm.
that's
Hemant,
something
you've like hit the nail on the head, like so much on the head, almost on bullseye. Is So I started my career in marketing, and okay, now in the last 15 plus years, I'm a VC investor. But every entrepreneur, and more recently, all these startups that come to me, I ask the same question: that where's your plan? Where's your go-to market plan, marketing plan? You name it, whatever term you call it. But धंधा कैसे करोगे? And they are like a lot of people nowadays, and unfortunately, is they are trained by accelerators कि presentation ऐसे बनाओ, और वो यही ट्रेनिंग हो रही है कि प्रेजेंटेशन ऐसे बनाओ, पिच ऐसे करो, इन्वेस्टर के सामने, वीसी के सामने, और उसी में बात चली जाती है। और अगर कोई पूछ ले कि यार
Hemant, can you talk a bit about this picture that I found on your travel website? Can you? It's a very beautiful picture, and I've never seen it
yeah,
anywhere else on the
you
internet.
should. Yeah,
Yeah, can you talk a bit about it?
so this is Key Monastery in Spiti, so in Himachal Pradesh, right? So this is very beautiful. This is that part of Himachal which is like very much like Ladakh, a cold desert, and it's Buddhist completely, and
isn't
it's
this
beautiful.
where धर्मशाला के थोड़ा सा आगे स्पीति, और is that am I confusing something?
काफी आगे है मतलब
काफी
it's a
आगे है,
different
okay.
valley altogether. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it's beautiful, and the people there, you know, you go to places like Ladakh. अभी Ladakh after Three Idiots थोड़ा सा corrupt हो रहा है. But see, we work with partners, right? How Rustic Travel works, we have local partners we work with, or local communities we work with, who do our execution. The people here, right? Could be the local travel agents or those. They are so honest. They have nothing
Mm.
to do with being commercial or making money or all that. That's how Buddhism teaches actually, right? Um, and that's how they are. It's just amazing. You go to these this thing. They have. It doesn't matter who's rich, poor. All that doesn't matter to them. It's amazing. The culture here is amazing, and and recently, not recently, yeah, it's been like there's a lot of over tourism which is happening. That's one of the things we could talk about in, let's say, our case. So, and these, because of over tourism, these kind of remote areas or pristine areas are getting corrupted because of that influx of some material culture which they are completely unaware of. So yeah, that's PT for you.
No, and I want to point out, like when I'm reading these reviews, like each of this travel that you're planning is like a complex project management. You're managing a complicated project management for 9 days, and people are leaving reviews like wonderful job of like कोई मुझे कह दे यार 8 दिन का कंसल्टिंग प्रोजेक्ट करना है my customer won't give me a great review like that, and that 8 days consulting project will be me visiting his office, sitting down and talking, and not managing complicated travels, hotels, the whole experience. So I think it can only come out of when you're doing it out of passion. That's the only way you can do it. I don't think somebody can create a company like Rustic Travel if it's not a passion project.
And unless you're not out there, you have to be out there yourself.
Yes,
You
you're
can't
out
do
there.
it
You're not.
from the.
It's not your employees. It's not your employees which can deliver this experience.
You're not. You can't delegate this. You can't do it in a AC, office kind of a
Yes,
thing. You have to
yes.
be out there. And
Wow,
for me, the best part is that because you are out there, you are traveling, right? That's what I wanted to do all this while.
wow,
So it sort of works out, right?
wow. So in all these trips, people are talking about the coach mentor. Is this coach mentor always you?
No,
कि
no, it's
कि
different people. It's different people. It's
it's
different people.
different
So
people.
in many trips or treks, I usually lead a lot of treks because I love. I'm more. I would say more skilled to do that. So it would be me. Then there's my partner. He leads a lot of cultural trips. We don't lead all the trips, and then we mainly work with partners. We don't travel ourselves, and we have a certain SOP with them that these are the things which happen this way, all that. So this way you're training also the local folks in terms of what needs to be done. And we have a particular target audience, right? It's largely 40 years plus, and who are at a premium, and that kind of audience who need certain kind of experience or uh, comforts or experiences. So it has to be, so that has to be briefed very well to the partners for them to execute. So it's a
Hmm.
this coach mentor could be in different trips, could be different people.
तो हेमंत एक बात बताओ कि काठमांडू से 100 किलोमीटर की ट्रैक करी बेस कैंप तक, उसमें कितना टाइम लगा? बेस कैंप में कितने दिन रुके? बेस कैंप से माउंट एवरेस्ट में क्या डिस्टेंस क्या है? कितना टाइम लगा? कोई आपने कहा कि यू बिकेम मोर स्पिरिचुअल आफ्टर दैट. What was it that made you more spiritual? थोड़ा शेयर करो. मैंने I want to live through your eyes.
Sure.
मैंने I'm
Right.
overweight.
So I was giving this background of how it started. The treks I did, the climbs I did. So before last year, if you add up all of that, or different life experience, life events happened, struggle or obstacles or ups and downs, all that.
Mm, mm,
Uh, what I'm trying to say, mentally, it makes you stronger and it answers the question somebody asked me in that talk, right? What do you do for mental strength? It's not a
mm,
one day answer ki aaj mental gym chalega, you become strong.
Yeah.
It's a life
Yeah.
journey, right? And
Mm.
that's what happened to me. And last year, it was there in my mind that maybe I should do this. I don't know whether I should do it. And last year, and I think it got triggered. So my mother passed away last year.
Oh my God. Sorry
And
to hear that.
yes, it was sad. And but it you one could, so I don't know, it gave me some sort of a, I don't know, a motivation to do something about it. Of course,
Mm.
I can't bring her back, but I can do
Mm.
something to dedicate her memory to. And,
Mm.
you
Mm.
know,
Mm.
I saw this and it triggered me into, which was always there in mind. It just triggered me into, okay, let me do
Mm.
this. I'll do this
Mm.
Everest.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so, you have a huge motivation in front of you that you're
Mm.
doing this for her, for you. You're not doing for, and I was very clear, and it's an expensive proposition. It takes around 40 lakhs
Oh wow.
plus.
I
Yeah.
didn't know a Mount Everest expedition cost 40 lakhs.
Yes. It's,
Where is the main
it's,
expense going?
so okay. So typically it's, main expenses basically goes to Sherpas, the expedition company, for the
Mm.
logistics they
Mm.
provide for you.
Mm.
Um, Around one-fourth of that goes into permit out of
Mm.
40 lakhs.
Mm.
One-fourth of that again goes to gear, equipment. Each, like the
Mm.
mountain boots itself cost some 1.25 lakhs, right? Two of
Okay.
them.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
uh, so those are very, of course, these are like the best, and you have to take the best with you to up there, right? You don't
Sure.
want to go with the
Mm.
substandard stuff. So, so basically, last year it triggered, it came as a trigger, and over the years since I was climbing and trekking, I became more and leading groups. I was more comfortable with the mountains, and I was very clear that
Mm.
if something goes wrong there, I should be able to take care of myself
Mm.
or somebody else, my climbing Sherpa. I don't want to
Mm.
go there and completely 100% depend on some other person. So
Mm.
that I was very clear about that, and I have been doing this, leading groups for the last 20 years. I felt comfortable in the mountains. Something goes wrong, and I've been in different situations, in bad weather, snowing while
Mm.
summiting, all those things.
Mm.
I have, many
Mm.
of those situations I've been. So it has
Hemant, let me
taught
ask you let me ask you a
you
personal
that.
question.
Yeah.
Did you write your will before you went on the expedition?
Yes, I
Okay.
did. I did.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
because you need to be prepared for any eventuality. And
Mm.
I did
Mm.
write my will. So that was part of
Mm.
that. So after I decided that, I'll do this, and of course, I just told you, I had climbed many peaks before this,
Mm. Mm.
6,000
Mm.
or 7,000.
Mm. Mm.
So I did
Mm.
all that, what you need to do to, uh, go for Everest. So
Mm.
when I decided last year, um,
Mm.
then I started preparing for it. Okay.
Mm.
And I'll just talk a bit about preparation. I think it's a process, and
Mm.
like which I learned from entrepreneurship, which is a boring process. It's repetitive, but you have to do it, right?
Mm.
6 days a week. There are four. I'm just talking about the physical part here. Of course, there's a mental thing which has been happening for years.
Mm.
One is climbing conditioning, taking a huge backpack, 20 kg plus,
Mm.
going up the hill, coming down 2 hours, one
Mm.
hour, three
Mm.
hours, or
Mm.
stairs,
Mm.
running cardio, which is like 10 Ks every alternate day, half
Mm.
marathons over the weekends regularly. Then strength training, basically gym, certain
Mm.
core muscles you work on. I never used to go to gym.
Mm.
I don't like going to gym, but I started that last year.
Mm.
It has to be done. And then flexibility. The other four things. Flexibility, mainly I've been doing yoga for years now. So this was
Mm.
something I do that regularly. 6 days a week, 52 weeks a year. It doesn't matter whether it's raining outside, whether it's cold, it's very hot, or you feel more sleepy.
okay, 5 मिनट 10 मिनट और सो जाते हैं. You have to get up and go there and do it. It's a process. You have to do this. And when I was summiting, I remember that, you know, it was around a 22-hour summit from Camp 4 to go up and down, right? I will talk
From the
about
base
that.
camp to go up and down.
No, no, not base camp, from Camp 4.
Okay.
From base camp, it
Okay.
takes days. I'll tell you about that. I'm saying when I was
Sure.
walking, actually thought about that process because there's a lot of time to think. Many things I was thinking. "Ki, I'm glad I was doing that because I'm able to walk. I won't say comfortably, but I was tired. I was not exhausted, but I am able to do that mainly because I had done that in the last year and more. So now cut to the expedition. So expedition. So I did all that. I did a lot of treks, climbs last year. I went to even I went to South America in Argentina, climbed the highest mountain there, Aconcagua, which is around 7,000 meters. All those things I did. Now, Mount Everest expedition is a 2 month long expedition. Okay, it takes 2 months to do that. Now, um, it could be divided into phases. So phase one is, of course, you go to Kathmandu, somebody comes and does a gear check, basically a Sherpa, and then if you have missed out on anything, you buy all that, and then you start walking to base camp, which is 8 days, right? Now it takes 8 days over 100 kilometers with with 2 acclimatization days in between. Now
Okay.
you're going to higher altitude. Now, the only way to get acclimatized to higher altitude is to climb high, sleep low, and of course, be hydrated, all that. So your body is not built for such altitudes. So you have to get acclimatized gradually, and that's what this does, right? So if you go very fast up, you will get acute mountain sickness, definitely. So when you're climbing up, you have to go very gradually. So so it took us 8 days to go there, and then once you're in base camp, you there's a little bit of training which happens. Most of us know what those things are. Basically, climbing a ice wall, coming down, crossing crevices, uh, over ladders. So So once you reach the base camp, there's a bit of training which happens, ek do din ka, and it's mainly to how to climb huge ice walls, go up. We have an instrument. There's a gear called Jumar or Ascender. जो कि rope में आता है, how to do that. We basically wear a harness, those safeties रहता है, Jumar, all that, and how to cross crevices, right? Those huge crevices, and then uh, then there's a puja which happens. I think puja is
Okay.
base camp. It's a very important ritual. It's basically puja. Local monks aate hain, and they basically Mount Everest is Sagar Matha. It's mother goddess for the Sherpas and Buddhists there. So uh, basically, in this puja, we all ask the goddess. We seek her permission to set foot on her and for a safe passage to the summit and back. So it's a very, lot of respect of your religion, country. Everybody takes very seriously and, gets involved in this. So after this is done, you start going to the mountain and you start doing acclimatization, rotations. So basically, you go to higher camps, you come down, you again go to much higher camps and come down. Sleep there and come down.
Okay. 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 So the
So
acclimatization is going up, coming down, going up, coming down.
yes, you go sleep a night or 2 nights, you come down. Then again you go higher and you come down. So basically, every time you are getting acclimatized to the lower oxygen levels, and then you recover when you come down, and then you come back. So it's sort of acclimatizing to that. So you have to do that. You have in the past they used to do 2-3 rotations. आजकल 2 में लोग कर लेते हैं. इस बार तो काफी लोगों ने एक ही किया. So and it depends on why and why it is
what situation you're in. So
Hmm.
uh, now let me, so after, so the route which I take, right? So there are four
Hmm.
camps, five camps. Okay, there's base
Okay.
camp, then there's camp one, there's camp two, camp three, camp four. Okay, now I'm just going to tell you a brief about this route because your strategy on how to cross that depends on that. So between, so
Hmm.
Khumbu, the base camp is on a glacier called Khumbu Glacier. Okay, so actually
Okay.
which is moving, right? And
Hmm.
next to it is a ice fall, which is called Khumbu Ice Fall. Okay,
Hmm.
it's a huge, long minefield of crevasses and seracs. It's one of the most
Hmm.
dangerous, treacherous parts of Everest. Okay, a lot of
Hmm.
people just to avoid this Khumbu ice fall, they go to the Tibet side to climb. Right, you
Hmm.
can
Hmm.
climb from there, and to acclimatize, you have to go through the same route. So many people,
Hmm.
including I, my first rotation, I climbed another peak at 6,000 meters. So at least
Hmm.
एक rotation हो जाएगा क्योंकि I went to that this thing. I don't have to
Hmm.
go through Khumbu ice fall. So
Hmm.
so Khumbu ice fall has those huge seracs, and the thing is, it's a continuously moving thing, right? Today you go up the Khumbu ice fall, कैंप वन में सोए और
Hmm.
चलो वापस आ रहे हो, the route would have changed because
Hmm.
some crevices
Hmm.
would have closed, some new would have come,
Hmm.
some seracs
Hmm.
would have fallen. So route
Hmm.
change होते रहता है. So there's a team called Icefall Doctors. So
Okay.
there's a local organization which is responsible for Everest. It's called Sagarmatha Pollution Control Committee, SPCC. उनका एक टीम
Hmm.
है Icefall
Hmm.
Doctors. It's their responsibility to set route
Hmm.
there, monitor daily, and change
Hmm.
based on how the route is
Okay.
changing. So
Okay.
so this time they made such a route which was safer, but it became very longer. So typical five
Hmm.
six out took 9 hours. Okay,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it became, and this is that altitude, right? Camp one is at 6,000 meters,
Hmm.
6,100 meters. So उसके
Hmm.
बीच में you have to go all this way. So a lot of people went up and they found कि यार ये तो बहुत मुश्किल हो रहा है. So they started spending more time on the higher camps from camp one itself instead of coming back the next day
Hmm.
down. So basically,
Hmm.
instead of
Hmm.
multiple rotations, they just did one rotation. So for me also, it
Hmm.
was I climbed that, and then this happened. I went on
Hmm.
to camp one, stayed there. Then camp one say camp two. Camp two is at 6,400 meters. Camp one और
Hmm.
camp two के बीच में there's a region called Western Coombe. Coombe
Hmm.
is basically COOM or CWM. It's Coombe means valley in Welsh. Okay,
Hmm.
so this is the hottest part of Everest. The temperatures
Okay.
go as high as 40 degrees Celsius
Oh,
amidst that
wow.
ice and snow. Yes,
Wow.
and that
Wow.
happens, and it's a very you know what you call gradual climb. ऐसे नहीं कि बहुत steep and all that. But
Ah.
what
Ah.
happens is that region is surrounded by high mountains, right? There's Everest आगे,
Hmm.
there's Lhotse, which is the fourth highest mountain, Nuptse there. So the heat basically
Hmm.
gets trapped there. It's like a
Oh,
solar cooker,
wow.
and
Hmm.
it becomes
Hmm.
very hot. Like I remember
So
when I
what's
doing
the
my first
temperature at base camp?
base camp, the minimum could go again. It depends on days. It could go low as -10, -15, and
Hmm.
otherwise रात को 0 to 5 में रहता है. And daytime अगर sun
So
आ गया
you're
तो
going, मतलब
But
आप,
this is
हाँ,
Hemant, you're
आप
saying this
जहाँ पे,
temperature is in summer time क्योंकि समर में ही लोग चढ़ते हैं एवरेस्ट. विंटर में जनवरी में तो कोई नहीं जाता, राइट?
right.
और आप
तो
देखो, आप जहाँ पे
जून में
नेगेटिव
माइनस
टेम्परेचर है, आप
5.
वहां से, हाँ,
Sorry.
और वहां से जब आप क्लाइंब अप करके यू आर गेटिंग टू अ वैली विच इज 40 डिग्री सेल्सियस, विच इज लाइक दिल्ली कलकत्ता.
Yes. As हाँ, I'm saying as high as 30 भी होता है, 35 भी होता है.
हम्म.
But yeah,
हम्म. श्योर
uh,
श्योर. हाँ.
yeah. I remember when I went next again to the same route to for the summit push, I was dehydrated crossing that section. And not me. I mean, path step liya, then you like sit. It's like
बट
that.
डिहाइड्रेशन
And
का
this is
रीजन
your
क्या था? रीजन क्या था? कम पानी था या पर्सपिरेशन था? क्या था रीजन?
multiple reasons. One is
हाँ
heat. Second is because of altitude, you're dehydrating, right? And of course, पानी भी कम था. I mean, I had 3 liters. 3 liters के बावजूद भी it's less.
हाँ
So
कितना लेकर जा सकते हो पानी? बिकॉज मोस्ट पीपल सी हीट तो सडन इंफॉर्मेशन है हमारे लिए, राइट? कि कौन सोचता है कि माउंट एवरेस्ट की तरफ जा रहे हो और हीट है? आई मीन दैट्स द लास्ट थिंग वन विल थिंक ऑफ इट. बट पर्सपिरेशन, डिहाइड्रेशन, हो सकता है पानी कम है क्योंकि कितना कैरी कर सकते हो, इट इज अंडरस्टैंडेबल. बट मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंटली इज कि और क्या रीजन था विच यू सेड एज योर नंबर वन, इज कि क्या रीजन है जो you lose water, and that reason that I see now is summary reason is like कि माहौल ऐसा था कि कितना भी जो भी हो सकता था apart from the first two reasons, and your number one reason is
no, so it can't be
yeah.
number one, number two.
Okay,
Means
okay, yeah, no, I'm not
see
I'm not
it
doing a
every
hierarchy, sorry.
yeah. It all works together, which is, see, जब तुम high altitude पे हो, right,
Hmm.
and you're doing nothing, let's say you're sleeping, which is zero activity,
हाँ
even then your body is burning calories like crazy, right? Base camp में 50% oxygen levels है compared to sea level. So basically your lungs are working overtime, which means you're burning more
to
calories
get
than
oxygen.
ever. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, which means that you need water to, supplement that, right? Whatever you're losing, water, food, and all
yeah
that.
yeah
If you don't, लेकिन वहां पे प्यास नहीं लगती ठंड में ये सब. But if you don't have water, then you'll get dehydrated, right? And it's nothing to do with temperature, right? So one of the major things is altitude. और ऊपर से you add one more factor of heat, then double whammy, right? तो उस जोन में ऐसा था, right? At that Western Cube.
I mean, किसी ने कभी नहीं सोचा था कि आप माउंट एवरेस्ट चढ़ने जा रहे हो एंड योर बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम और अ गुड प्रॉब्लम, बिग प्रॉब्लम विल बी हीट. मतलब मेरे जैसे बंदे ने तो बिल्कुल नहीं सोचा था कि यार ठंड विल बी अ प्रॉब्लम, हीट विल नॉट बी अ प्रॉब्लम. एंड बट आई सी इट्स ऑलमोस्ट लाइक मेरे पीछे इतना शाइन है क्योंकि लंदन में 4 दिन गर्मी होती है और टुडे हैपेंस टू बी वन ऑफ दोस डेज और शाइन करता है सन एंड ऑल दैट. बट किसने सोचा था कि लंदन में धूप निकलती है? हम तो यार धूप खोजते रहते हैं.
So, right. So basically, Camp 1 had then you reach Camp 2. Camp 2 say, then Camp 3 here. Camp 3 is at 7,200 meters. And Camp 3 से नीचे, there's a, what do they call, a Jumar point. Basically, you are on the ropes all the time, but वहाँ पे you can't leave the ropes because the gradient just goes to 60 degrees plus, right? It's very steep all the way till the summit. Then you reach Camp 3, and when you're summiting, that's where the oxygen also starts. With Camp 3 say you reach Camp 4, and Camp 4 say then you summit. So after acclimatization is over, it takes around 6 to 8 days to do from base camp to go up to the summit and come down. So that's
Wow.
how. And the thing is that you can only do on certain days the summit push. See, Mount Everest, जो altitude है, is at the same level as jet stream, where the aircrafts fly,
Okay. Okay.
right?
29,000 feet. Yes.
Yes, yeah, it's almost there or in the middle of it, right? Now,
Hmm.
what is jet stream? Jet stream is jet stream is high speed winds, right?
Got it. Got it.
High speed
So
winds, and when I say high,
at
at
29,000 feet, because there's so high speed wind, you need to make sure there's calmness before you can take the climb.
exactly, and those the speeds go like 100, 200, 300, 400 kilometers per
Wow.
hour, right? Throughout
Wow.
the
So
year.
so
So
if you make a mistake, if you climb and there's a jet stream, you're not coming back.
right. So you need to go only on those days, and that's somebody said that on Everest in May, Jetstream takes a vacation. So actually,
Okay.
the wind speeds in May historically also it comes down to manageable
Okay.
levels like 20, 30, 40. वो भी high
Hmm.
है, but
Hmm.
you know kilometers per hour. So at least you will
Hmm.
not get blown away, right?
Hmm.
And with wind comes cold, right? If it's more windy, it's more
Hmm.
cold, right? Wind chill, all that happens. So
Hmm.
so you depend on weather reports. And there's a
Hmm.
weather station at 8,500 meters. They put a structure
Okay.
actually
Okay.
on the
So that's after
near
Camp
the
4.
summit.
It's between Camp 4 and the summit. There's a weather station.
Exactly, midway. Yeah. So
Yes.
that's
Midway.
where
Wow.
the Met department in Nepal get their data from, and they forecast based on that.
Hmm.
Right? They don't forecast well in advance. they 2-3 दिन पहले पता चलता है because mountains में change होते रहता है. So they
And
tell
your
you, okay,
radios
these
are
are the
working and
weather.
you're hearing this on the radios.
Yes, but
Hmm.
at the base camp itself, we know
Hmm.
it. That's then when we start.
Hmm.
So this time there
Hmm.
were three weather windows: 12th, 13th May, 19th to 23rd May, which was a longer one, and
Hmm.
then 27th, 28th
Hmm.
May, right?
Hmm.
So you have to start as per the weather windows. So I went during
Hmm.
19th to 23rd wala May,
Hmm.
and again you have to go through Khumbu Icefall, you go to Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3, Camp 4, and go up. So, so basically that's how the process is generally.
Hmm.
Typically, typically 6 days में लोग complete कर लेते हैं usually. 5 days में कुछ लोग करते
Hmm.
हैं one. Uh, Lately, it's taking more time. Like I took 8 days to do
Hmm.
that. One because we
Hmm.
spent extra day in Camp 2 to recover from dehydration. Okay.
Hmm.
When we started from Camp 2 onwards, actually from base camp onwards, there was a lot of traffic we encountered along the way. So I
Okay.
was just
ट्रैफिक
familiar
ट्रैफिक
with Bangalore.
ट्रैफिक मतलब क्या मतलब इट्स नॉट लाइक बीजिंग या दिल्ली वाला ट्रैफिक राइट
Definitely not Bangalore all traffic, which is the worst kind. But 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 yeah, similar to that. So traffic of climbers, right?
राइट सो
So
Hmm.
कुछ लोग वापस आ रहे हैं कुछ लोग ऊपर जा रहे हैं दैट काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग
exactly,
एंड
Hmm.
exactly,
एंड एंड वो
exactly. And
बेसिकली
एक
जो
rope है.
रोड बनी है या क्लाइंबिंग वाला पाथ बना है इवन
Hmm.
समटाइम्स ट्रैफिक मींस कि तीन एक्स्ट्रा लोग आ गए दैट मींस ट्रैफिक राइट
Yes, but usually there is a huge traffic. Yeah, you know, तुम्हारे पी एक रोप पे तुम ऊपर जा रहे
Hmm.
हो, उसी रोप से लोग
So
नीचे
the
आ रहे हैं,
base camp
right?
looks something like this, Hemant. ऐसा लग रहा था जब
Yes,
आप गए
yeah.
थे?
Hemant, from what you said, I can see. Uh, actually, it's a question. Do you see that IIM Bangalore helped you in reaching that management decision कि boss ये 3 point formula है नीचे उतरना is more important. It's just a solution rather than कि सिर्फ एक passion और aspiration में ऊपर पहुंच जाओ और फिर not think about the second part of the journey, the more important part of the journey.
I think this kind of decision making happened. The the process of such decision making, you know, I could arrive at over the years. Let me put it that way, instead of directly, you know, uh, as you said to IIM Bangalore. Of course,
No,
it
no,
helped
of
me
course, it's not like that one
from.
point thing, but it's like over the years,
Hmm.
कि,
Yes,
whether
absolutely.
it's in your childhood, growing up, whether it's doing
Yes,
the
yes,
JE or and then getting into DC, and मतलब, that built
yes,
up,
yeah,
right? That was the management decision
yes.
making.
No, no,
Absolutely. So, all even like entrepreneurship is a big, big, teacher, I would say. Like, when some things don't work out, you don't just sit, अरे कुछ नहीं हो रहा है, क्या हो गया? You'll see, अच्छा, this is not working, let's try this, plan B, plan C, plan D, right? You do all that. So when the storm hit us, when we reached the summit, सब सही था. If you see my summit photos, they're sunny, bright, and there's some photos where the storm is coming. And if you see in the movie Everest, it's based on Into Thin Air book by John Crawford. 1996 disaster, a lot of climbers died. Same thing happens. While coming down, they're coming down. Obviously, they stayed too much on the summit. The storm hits them, and a lot of people die during that time. The same thing came into my mind, that time. He, oh, this is this going to be a repeat of that? But but I think I was mentally trained with that. And it's not just about my mountaineering experience, like decision making process as well, doing entrepreneurship. अच्छा, तो ये हो गया है, तो what is the next logical thing to do in this? Okay. Also, I didn't speak about, there's an injury I picked up during my rotation, which were a ligament injury. And I was evacuated to Kathmandu after my rotations. I was there for 8 days. I mean, it was a minor injury, but it was very much there. So I was wary of the fact that if this injury returns, then I'm gone. So I have to walk in a certain way. I have to walk slowly. I have to place my foot this way, not sideways, so that the injury doesn't come. So you have to do multiple things. So there's multiple
वाओ! यार
multi
थोड़ा-सा
processing हो रहा होता
हमारे
है.
उसमें इंजरी हो जाती है तो हम तो चलना छोड़ देते हैं, भागना छोड़ देते हैं एंड डिस्पाइट द इंजरी यू क्लाइम्ड एवरेस्ट. वाओ! आई मीन हैट्स ऑफ.
It was not easy, and of course, it was not paining or anything. But yeah, you do things. You strap up your knee, all those things you do. But it's how you place your foot at each and every step. Go slow. There's no hurry. Right? Things like that. You do that. And I also took one extra Sherpa. So I had two Sherpas. Initial part of rotation, I had only one. Then during the summit, from Camp 4, I took one more Sherpa at the advice of my lead Sherpa. My lead Sherpa's name was Tanba Dorchi, and the other Sherpa his name was Ankash, his younger brother. And his main job was to carry extra oxygen cylinders for us, all of us. Now we knew, and I knew, that I'll walk slower, mainly because of the injury. And especially while coming down, I'll be much slower because that's when the injury could, happen again. And when you are walking slower, which means your oxygen tanks are getting, uh, empty. So if you don't have an extra cylinder, then that's dangerous. That's again sort of, it comes from I think decision making process. I can't point out
Yeah.
too many things over the journey, and quite a bit from entrepreneurship, from from IIM Bangalore, all that, helped and came to take such decisions at that point in time.
And
So,
I think from what you
so
were
this
saying
is
originally is that who knows कि कहाँ से क्या decision आया, whether it was from your childhood, from your DC days, from your IM days, or from your entrepreneurship days, something all came together. And that's how, firstly you took the decision over the years, over the last 10-15 years कि ये जाना है, ये करना है और कुछ करना है और कुछ बड़ा झंडा गाड़ के आना है. And more than that, as I see it, as an outsider into your getting a glimpse into your life and your decisions, is as I see it is like, yeah, everything came together. But then, as I want
yes,
me to see it and others watching this episode to see it, is things always come together. You just have to wait कि कुछ हो जाएगा. मतलब you have to I mean, हमारे पिछले एपिसोड में हमारी डिस्कशन हुई थी with someone who was like a big exponent of the Bhagavad Gita, and all hats off to him. Is I keep remembering just the one phrase of the Bhagavad Gita, क्योंकि मैं उतना उतना नहीं हूँ उसमें, but कर्मण्यवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन. So, and when you take a step back, it's about keep doing your stuff. They will all come together as long as you are very motivated, and whatever word you want to use is like करते रहो और अच्छे से करते रहो जो भी करना है, and they will all come together, whether it is 20 years later, whether it's your DC IIM, from your travel, from your DC that you were saying, Hemant. You were talking about your travel, कि कहाँ जाते थे हम, and that motivated
Right.
your travel business. You were doing mountain hiking, जो मैंने कभी नहीं किया, और विक्स तेरे को करना चाहिए definitely. तेरे वहाँ पे काफी mountains हैं, वो Andes करके, देख के आओ. I think they all come together, Hemant.
Yeah. I would like to add one thing which I strongly believe in
Hemant,
because it has happened to me again. Just
Yeah.
just want to add this. Similar
Yeah.
to what you're saying, Migs, is that if you have the intent, universe conspires to make it happen. I strongly believe that,
Perfect.
and
wow.
it has happened to many times.
Yes. Yes.
So
यार इससे तो मेरे
right
का
from
वो
the
कोलंबस वाला शाहरुख खान याद आ गया मेरे को, एक मूवी में बोला था ना उसने, समथिंग लाइक दैट, इफ यू नो व्हाट आई
हेमंत एक
मीन.
बात बताओ,
uh,
ये किसकी फोटो है आपके हाथ में?
so that's my mother and me.
So why? Okay, actually, let's do this, and then we'll move to the case study. But Hemant, why this photo? Why not 100 other photos? Why this photo?
I think it was fairly recent. I remember. So she used to stay with me during COVID time. So she used to shuttle between Delhi and Bangalore. My sister lives in Delhi, so half the year she used to stay there, and half the year during winter she used to come and stay with me in Bangalore, that kind of thing. But during COVID, she was stuck here with me for those 2 years. And I remember this is a photo during Christmas, and it was a very cute photo. I mean, you see Santa hats both of us are wearing if you
Yeah.
do a close up on that. And it was fairly recent, hardly a year, 2 years old. And that time, since it was COVID, so we don't meet people during COVID during that time. So we did a Zoom call with, like my sister, other relatives, my brother who lives in Canada, all that. So it was
Hmm.
very nice and happy time. So I just love that moment.
Hmm.
And there's a photo from that. So I thought I'll
Yeah.
just take this.
And this photo is literally taken 5 feet below the highest land on Earth.
This is considered the highest. Yeah, on the side where you see the prayer flags, that's
But
the highest. This is the
This is
highest.
probably the area which is at the end, last scene of the movie in
Yes.
Waterworld. If you've seen that movie, वो वाला area है.
आप ये वाले prayer
Okay.
flags की बात कर रहे हो? These prayer flags?
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the highest point.
Perfect. So, Hemant, shall we just move into the case study now?
Sure.
I could have found anyone else who could tell us about the Indian tourism industry. Over the next 25 years, Indian tourism industry will grow 10 times. It's going to attract entrepreneurs, it's going to create global brands, and now we are going to hear from someone who is in the trenches making it happen. We're going to hear from Hemant about the Indian tourism industry, and then at the end of this, he's going to present to us a contextual problem about the Indian tourism industry. And one of your viewers is going to solve this, and the applicants will be judged by Hemant. And whichever applicant wins it, they're going to get a 1,000 rupees award with a certificate signed by no other than Hemant. Our one of 550 Indians who have climbed Mount Everest, Meglani, a venture capitalist in London, and me, myself, here in Silicon Valley. So guys, get ready. I don't think I could have gotten an IIM Bangalore professor to talk better about the tourism industry in India. I couldn't have gotten the tourism minister of India to talk better about the tourism industry in India. So we have someone who is in the trenches today. to talk about the tourism industry in India. So, Hemant, tell us more about the tourism industry, where it is, where is it going, and what do you think are the SWOT analysis of the tourism industry, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and the threats? Please, Hemant.
Okay, I'll try my best to do that. I haven't done a SWOT analysis in years,
Okay.
but yeah, I just go with the flow, guys.
Sure, please.
So yeah, so when I started or had this thought of uh, uh, starting a travel company, right? And it was largely due to passion. But passion is one thing, business is another, right? I could be a traveler, but the business of travel is a altogether different ball game, right? So, so I of course I did my research, what to do, how to do, should I become an aggregator, should I do this, all that. So eventually, it's a journey, and I started on certain aspects, and then I realized that um, rustic travel, we should try to do anything and everything out of in travel business. Now when I say that, it could be not just trip curation or execution, it could be other things also. It could be about content, it could be about travel related content, it could be about events, travel related events. It could be anything else, many things which are there. It could be inbound, it could be outbound. So actually we are doing all of these things. Of course there are some things which we have monetized and some we have not. Like content, we host podcast shows, we have short documentaries, but we haven't actually monetized them. But what I'm trying to say is that you know tourism, and not it's just not India, it's worldwide, it's at the cusp where it's going to just grow by leaps and bounds. And that is happening largely because many things are happening. Of course there's aviation, there's world has become smaller with of course uh, transport. It has become smaller with internet communication, mobile phones. It's really become smaller. So and there are new opportunities which are evolving, right? Content is one big thing, a big area. I just spoke out which we can't put a number to it. But if you look at tourism industry as such in India, it's it's around $10 billion worth right
10
now,
billion, that's it?
around inbound. If
For India, 10
yeah,
billion dollars? And
yes,
I'll tell you, now
it's
here's a
less.
number, Hemant, stuck in my head. And this is probably a few years old number, so I don't know if it's grown probably. 250 billion dollars is the यूके tourism industry. एक छोटा सा आइलैंड कहीं पर ऊपर है ठंडे देश में. 250 billion dollars. That is यूके tourism industry.
No, so that's where there's huge potential, because it and this number is slightly dated, maybe a few years here and there, but again, I mean, it definitely not in hundreds,
हम्म.
right?
हाँ, 10 नहीं
If you
होगा
look
तो
at
10 नहीं होगा तो 12 होगा, 13 होगा, 15 होगा. That
correct,
it's not
correct,
250 billion
exactly.
for like a
It's not 100,
tiny island somewhere.
right? Correct, absolutely. So it is really, really, you know, I wouldn't say not reached its potential. And if you look at inbound tourism, right? How many people come to India? It's around between 10 to 15 million people. If you look at countries like France or Spain, I think they annually, I think 40 million people around come to their country. It's huge, and it's those are small countries, right? But what tourism does is, and what really excited me about it, and I talked about the meaningful impact which one could create, right, is that it's a big job giver, right? So 10% of the workforce is in tourism. 10% of the overall, I would say, organized workforce is in tourism. And that is huge. And if you look at, of course, we know everybody talks about the demographics in India. It's a young country, 65% is less than 35 years and all that. We present that and put it as a, uh, while pitching it to foreign investors, all that. But of course, it's a ticking time bomb, which nobody talks about, right? Because so many people, and hence there are not that many jobs, right? So tourism could actually help, in creating those jobs. And that is one, right? Second is, and I would say thanks to COVID, right? Of course, tourism went bust. I mean, we were like zero revenues during those time, right? Uh, what it did was, especially for India, it boosted domestic tourism big time, right? So, of course, the incomes have risen over the years from 1991 when liberalization started happening. It's really Indians have more money, spending money. And what COVID did was it brought about a behavioral change in Indians, right? It, of course, all of us felt during COVID, right? Kal kisne dekha hai, let's go and travel. All everybody has felt that, right? And you feel that more. And of course, there was a huge uh, revenge tourism, as they call it, that happened. But I think the journey actually started much before that. I feel COVID just boosted that. Over the years, Indians have been traveling quite a bit within India, right? Now we have partners across India, right? Ladakh हुआ, Himachal हुआ, इधर हुआ. And I particularly talk about Ladakh, right? I first went there in 2005. There was only one couple during that time who were Indians. The rest were all foreigners. This is 2005. Cut to last year, I went. I mean, in between, I've been there some 5, 6 times. They were mainly Indians and many Indians. And we talked to our partners regularly there, right? And they said that we prefer that Indians come. Uh, and they're not even banking on foreign travelers to come there. And one of the main reasons is not quantity, is the money Indians are spending more than the foreign travelers. So that is also happening. So I think there is, and j- forget that. So that is one. And we do quite a bit of outbound tourism as well, right? Indians traveling abroad. So we organize trips to be it Egypt, be it Tanzania, Kenya, to Europe, different places. And we talk to our partners abroad, right? In fact, just yesterday, I met one partner from Vietnam. They were in Bangalore, so they wanted to meet me. So I met them. And they were traveling around India, meeting different people because India is a big market for them. Tons of Indians travel to Vietnam, Cambodia. Suddenly, all the destinations, and there are a lot of events happen, like travel events happen. The biggest one is an event called ITB Berlin. Okay, you can Google it. It's one of the top events. Now they have an India chapter also. It's happening in Mumbai in September. Just because it's a huge market. So one is India as a destination, and second is Indians as a market. It's huge, right? So another thing, what is happening in India specifically is the infrastructure, which is improving by the day.
Hmm.
So I don't think many of you know that it was there in the newsletter, IMB newsletter 2 years ago. So I just during the COVID, I took a road trip, 6 month long trip in my car across India. I covered all the 28 states. And we did that. It was one of the events we did that in association with Ministry of Tourism, Government of India.
Wow.
And it was,
I'd love to. Next time you
we
do
were,
something like that, Hemant, मैं भी join करूंगा.
sure,
मैं
sure.
मैं साथ में
It was
पीछे
a
वाली
trip of a
सीट पे बैठ
lifetime.
जाऊंगा if that's what you want. या कभी कभी ड्राइव भी कर
Yeah.
लूंगा रोड ट्रिप में.
In fact, a lot of my IMB batchmates, a lot of my friends, they joined me during that road
हम्म,
trip. Huh?
हम्म.
So it was quite
बुला
a
लेना next time.
experience. And I went through roads, right? India roads, highways. Oh, they are amazing. It's a pleasure driving. I mean, as far flung places as the Northeast, or you know, various. I mean, places like Bihar, who one would feel कि पिछड़ा है तो नहीं. I mean, the roads were good, yeah. So I was like UP, amazing, super highways, yeah. So the infrastructure is really coming up. Airports. I flew to Kannur 5 years ago. Actually, there was one somebody had invited me for a talk there, some college, and I flew there. It was a new airport, and I've been to many airports around the world. I travel quite a bit. It was an international airport in Kannur, a small place, an international airport. Of course, a lot of Malayalis come from the Gulf and all that, right? It's meant for them, and the airport was world class.
Wow.
So there are a lot of smaller towns which are having these amazing airports, and and of course there's domestic travel also happening. There's international travel also happening. So the infrastructure is also improved quite a bit and improving. There is money in the hands of the consumer, right? uh, Gen Z has already decided that they're not going to buy any houses, have any assets. They're just going to spend on experiences. Gen Z ka to yahi hai, right? And even so our audience is largely 40 plus, 50 plus, that audience. And those are guys who have decided कि यार बहुत हो गया काम कर लिया जिंदगी में, let's do this. And they are price insensitive guys, right? So they're spending more and more. So the numbers are increasing, their spending power is also increasing. So it's a pretty rosy picture in terms of actual growth which could happen, as long as, or now I'm going to talk about, as long as it's sustainable. Okay, but that's where my question is actually
Sustainability में can you
now.
cover two or three things? One is economic sustainability, environment sustainability, and also the growth sustainability. How how much of a growth is possible in the future?
Right. So I'll start with economic or financial sustainability, right? Uh, so I think there's a okay. Um, I think, as I mentioned, that it's the biggest job giver. This industry is one of the biggest job givers. Like 10% of the workforce comes from here.
Okay.
So, which means that you need that much of workforce, okay, which is there. But the problem is that is that workforce skilled? Okay, are they enough? Training institutes, or tourism, does they have enough? Whatever, teachers or instructors, or the right uh, uh, you know uh, path for training up and coming tourism professionals. So that is a problem right now. So while there is demand, but we see it all the time when we go out, either hiring interns or hiring people, uh, or be it talking to smaller town partners in smaller towns. So that skill is a problem, right? We need more skilled professionals. is definitely there. And financial, in fact, growth is also sort of linked to it, Manish, because that is also, you have to give, the right supply of, trained professionals to deliver for the demand which is coming in.
मैंने दो चीजें लिखी हैं वीकनेस में, वर्कफोर्स स्किल्ड, एनफ ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट्स. सो ये जो वीकनेसेस है, दे आर ऑल्सो थिंग्स दैट एंटरप्रेन्योर्स कैन प्रोवाइड. मुझे लगता है कि इतनी कंप्यूटर ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट्स हैं, उसकी जगह अगर आप टूरिज्म ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट्स खोलो तो दैट माइट बी समथिंग दैट कैन एक्चुअली फुलफिल द डिमांड. क्योंकि आपने अपॉर्चुनिटीज में एक बहुत अच्छी बात लिखी, बिगेस्ट जॉब गिवर. आज हमारे देश के लिए सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है कि एनफ जॉब्स नहीं है. तो आई थिंक यू जस्ट हेल्प्ड अ लॉट ऑफ एंटरप्रेन्योर्स आइडेंटिफाई कि टूरिज्म वर्कफोर्स skill up the workforce in the tourism industry, create jobs. That's a huge.
That's a very valid point. Yeah. So skill is a weakness. In terms of now, one of the opportunities I would say specifically for India is that there are so many destinations, right, which are just not tapped. They're so under tapped. India is an ancient country, right?
No, we are asking, suppose if Mr. Modi came to you and said, Hemant, you've been to IIM Bangalore, you're an avid traveler, you've traveled all over the world. I want you to make India the rising star of global tourism in the next 5 years. What 3 steps will Hemant Soren take?
Your tourist destinations, I think you'll work on that first. One which is under tapped, you develop them more. One which is over tapped. Okay, so
Tax
there's
them.
threat where there's a over.
वाओ वाओ
Sorry.
वाओ, अब आप सोल्यूशन
Yeah.
पे आ गए हो कि ओवर टैप को टैक्स करो, माने
Correct, or reduce
हाँ,
things.
reduce the
There are,
Overtapped क्या है?
I
consumer
see
demand.
that
What's overtapped?
it's like over
Like
tourism.
शिमला. Like शिमला में हर बंदा पहुंच जाता है. जब मैं
Yeah,
80s में था
yeah,
तो हम शिमला
Shimla,
जाते थे.
Nainital.
अभी शिमला जाओ तो
No,
शिमला is
don't
like
go now,
Delhi.
please. I tell people, please do not visit the hill stations. Please do not visit during December or May, certain times. भीड़ रहती है.
जाओ तो
It's
स्कूल की छुट्टियां ना हो.
treks. हाँ, treks में, like छोटे treks in Coorg and all that, 300, 400 people, huh? It's crazy. But there are many other places, right? One could go, but so that's over tapped, under tapped, right? So basically, do all that, build that infrastructure. I think that's, so you asked me 3 things. I think that could be my number one thing. You
So I think
start with the basics,
number one, you're
do all
saying
that.
start understanding that, find out the top 10 locations that are overtapped, introduce permit fees like Mount Everest does, find out top 10 locations that are undertapped, and probably give tax holidays for businesses that are operating in those areas.
Yes, and build them. Build
Yeah.
infrastructure. The infrastructure meaning airport, acha road to reach there, transport, all that stuff, right? And help hotel owners, give tax holidays or things like that, right? So that is definitely one.
Wow, I think this should make it to the cabinet. I will make sure we email it to two government slash IIM people we have interviewed recently. One thing we are realizing is that because of India is run by people who graduated from IIMs, middle level management, middle level government organizations. So this distinction that you have made between overtapped and undertapped, I think it comes because you're part of this industry. Manil, this distinction is important. That's great.
The second one is, now we have done this, or you're doing this, and it is an ongoing process. You have to, marketing is a big thing.
How do we unleash entrepreneurial energy in marketing? Because at the end of the day, the government can only create the environment. The government cannot do. The government can create the environment. So do you have any ideas on what can we do to unleash that entrepreneurial energy?
So that's a difficult question because See, there are a lot of things which the government can do, which is largely, uh, not just about tourism startups. It could be any startups or any companies, right? We run a company. There are thousands of compliance things, audit things.
Yes,
You just
yes,
get buried into every year,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
I pay our accountant auditors more than maybe we pay our employees. Okay,
More
so
than you
let,
pay
let
your
me put it
marketing
that.
department. That has to change.
Yes, yes,
That has to change.
yes.
You should be able
It's
to
like
spend the energy in getting a DJI drone and flying that drone on every trek you're doing, and then making a great video
yes,
out of it and releasing it on YouTube instead of saying कि अच्छा आज गवर्नमेंट से क्या चिट्ठी आई है बताओ.
correct. And for example, I'll give you an example. I mean, I'll give you an example. So in 2020, they introduced a tax called TCS. You may have heard of it, maybe.
नहीं अभी तक नहीं
It's
सुना है
called
बताओ.
tax collected at source.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, for every money you remit outside, there'll be a tax of 5%.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what does it mean for travelers, Indian travelers traveling abroad? They lose that 5%
Okay.
just because they're traveling abroad. Okay, now what they've done, our Honorable Finance Minister has gone one step ahead. Last year, they announced that till 7 lakhs, it would be 5%. After that, it will be 20%.
So if you're traveling to the
So,
US and you expect to spend around 20 lakhs, तो उसमें से 20% गवर्नमेंट को देना पड़ेगा. सही है?
I think I've
or matlab ki
heard
they
about
say
this.
that
I've
they
heard
say
about
that
this. I've not like literally been um, on the problem end of this. But मैंने ये सुना था कि this was to curb black money remittances कि जैसे इंडिया से मनी आउटफ्लो कर रहा है. एंड इज इट ट्रू कि एक चीज करेक्ट करते हुए गवर्नमेंट ने कुछ और चीज रोक दी कि आई मीन you know what it means कि you fix one thing and then some other domino falls.
that's what is happening. It is impact. See, outbound now, and it was said in the budget. One of the justifications given that they're trying to promote domestic tourism by doing this, so that don't go abroad, travel in India. Now,
वो तो
it's
फिर वो
I think it's a
पॉलिटिकल स्टेटमेंट
draconian
है, वो
law.
पॉलिटिकल स्टेटमेंट है.
Huh,
बट
correct. I know,
जो मैंने
but
सुना था कि उसका एक्चुअल रीजन वाज कि मतलब देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ एंड यू नो हम सबको पता है कि क्या-क्या चीजें बाहर जाती हैं और कैसे लोग कर लेते हैं. एंड सिटिंग अब्रॉड आई नो ऑल दीज मेथड्स एंड I'll also say कि those methods have become very difficult now, very difficult now. So for better or worse, I'm not commenting on that sitting from here कि अच्छा है या बुरा है. लेकिन what you're saying is कि अगर अच्छा भी है कि आप ब्लैक मनी आउटफ्लो कर्व कर्व कर रहे हो, it has hurt the travel industry, domestic travel industry, or whatever travel
No,
industry.
why will it hurt the domestic travel?
नहीं,
It will hurt the
it has hurt
international
the
travel
domestic
industry.
travel operators who might have an international travel industry.
absolutely, yeah. So, like, what I'm saying is laws like these are sort of hurting the travel industry.
Okay, okay. No, point taken. Point taken. I think that's a good one. Third point. What's the next opportunity or strength or
No, so we were talking about three things,
uh,
right?
Yeah.
Top three things which Vix was asking me. First, I said was
Undertapped and overtapped. The second
under
was
tap, yeah,
the second was hands-off approach.
marketing,
हाँ,
basically marketing, right?
हाँ, marketing, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was talking about three things one should
हाँ,
do, right?
हाँ, हाँ,
Two,
हाँ.
right? So they need to boost up marketing, and it goes marketing abroad, marketing within India, the right approaches. I think the third thing, which is one should do, is ensure that it's sustainable. So coming back to that question, from all angles, right? When I say all angles, of course, financially, right? Uh, from culturally, right? Now, many places, like you hear that in Europe already, right?
Hmm.
People in Barcelona cribbing that अरे इतने लोग आ गए चलो जाओ यहाँ से,
Hmm.
those kind of things. That's over tourism, but I'm saying it impacts your local culture,
Hmm.
right? You can see that. I already see that happening in places like Spiti or Ladakh. Right? We spoke about that. And the third thing is, of course, environment. It's the biggest one of the biggest things. I see that happening because we go in treks
Hmm.
in Uttarakhand and those places,
Hmm.
places like Joshimath.
Hmm.
It's it's at a precipice, I would say, of
Okay.
an ecological disaster. And actually, that ground is. There was a report last year. There was a
Hmm.
ground which is actually oh, I'm not dhasra. I mean,
Hmm.
whatever you may call it in English. It's sort of
Yeah,
Hmm.
submerging.
right. Yeah. So and that's largely because it's unchecked
Hmm.
development. That
Hmm.
hotels who are all that over tourism. There's transport happening. It's all unchecked just to make a buck,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So there has to be there has to be a balance between that, right?
So हेमंत, मेरे को ये
Tomorrow that
तीनों
place
पॉइंट
won't be there only.
तीनों पॉइंट्स में एक बहुत कॉमन थ्रेड दिखी, या सुनाई दी. करेक्ट मी इफ आई एम नॉट मिस्टेकन. ओवर मार्केटिंग एक चीज है, ये लास्ट वाला द एनवायरमेंटल पार्ट इज वन थिंग, और बीच में जो है लोकल कल्चर, aren't they all in some ways the same over marketing thread? और जहां पर लोग नहीं जा रहे वो
Not
अंडर
really.
मार्केटिंग थ्रेड है.
No, not really. See, over marketing, which means over tourism. It's not. It's about educating also the travelers, right? So yeah, तुम लोग कहीं जा रहे हो, please respect the local traditions, culture. I mean, I've seen people, you know. So when I say, I mean, training is the wrong word, but I'm saying education, right? Educating the suppliers, educating the customers. So it has to be both ways. I mean, don't throw trash. Simple thing is don't throw trash,
Yeah.
right? Uh, but people have to adhere to that. So it's not exactly marketing related to that. It's about sending the right signals or penalizing or educating or making
Hmm.
people aware.
Got it.
I mean, is there something more you want
Yes,
me to add
I
to
wanted
this
you to,
segment?
I
Huh.
wanted you to give, or like us together to give a challenge to the viewers, okay? And the challenge that I would like is because the tourism industry is such a big opportunity for India, right? Because हमारे लिए सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम क्या है? जॉब्स, राइट? और आपने ठीक कहा कि हम इतने खुश होते हैं कि इंडिया बहुत यंग है. यार वो तो टिकिंग टाइम बॉम्ब है, 30 साल बाद बुढ़ी भी तो होगी. तो जॉब्स कहाँ क्रिएट करनी है? तो लेट अस कम अप विद व्हाट आर द टॉप 3 opportunities that we can present as a open document to our government, right? I think the government also needs ideas that can be implemented. ये नहीं कि यार इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ठीक कर दो, यार वो तो चल रहा है, वो तो गडकरी सर कर रहे हैं, आप मैंने क्या कर दो भाई? यू कैन डू, मैंने कम अप विद आइडियाज दैट कैन बी इम्प्लीमेंटेड. लाइक जैसे आपने जो बताया परमिट फीस फॉर ओवर टैप डेस्टिनेशंस, कि शिमला एयरपोर्ट, नैनीताल एयरपोर्ट में 1000 रुपए की फी लगा दो, अपने आप फीस बच जाएंगी, अपने आप वहां से टूरिज्म कम होगा, दूसरी जगह जाएगा, राइट? जैसे आपने बताया कि वर्कफोर्स स्किल्ड नहीं है, तो ठीक है, आईटी आईएम में इतना फोकस कर रहे हो, यार सारी प्रोग्रामिंग तो अब एआई करेगा. आईटी के कम लोग चाहिए, अब हमें टूरिज्म ट्रेनिंग टीटीआईज चाहिए इंस्टेड ऑफ आईआईटीज. वी शुड रादर हैव टीटीआईज. एंड देन लेट्स कीप दिस चैलेंज ओपन. Come up with a third opportunity, come up with something that, and I think the government wants to respond. It's just looking for good ideas. It's looking for good ideas from people like you, कि जिसके आईएम की भी एजुकेशन है, टूरिज्म में भी है. So how about we open this competition to everyone, that come up with 3 paragraphs that we can send to our government saying implement these 3 things. We already have 2 paragraphs written down. One is the TTI paragraph, tourism training institutes. One is the POD paragraph, permit fees for overtap destinations, airport fees of 1,000 rupees extra. And what is this third paragraph that you will write? And people will comment on our website or the YouTube channel, And whoever comes up with the best third paragraph for this one-page letter to the tourism minister will get an award, a monetary award of 1,000 rupees. But bigger than that, they will get a certificate signed by no other than one of the 550 Indians who has climbed Mount Everest and one of the very few people in the world who has slept a night at 8,000 meters. क्योंकि माउंट एवरेस्ट तो लोग बस क्लाइंब करते हैं फिर वापस आ जाते हैं, 8,000 मीटर्स पे कभी लोग सोए. सो हेमंत, बहुत अच्छा लगा आपसे बात करके, एंड थैंक यू फॉर कमिंग, एंड let's be part of the solution and let's do something big. I'm in touch with a lot of investors here in Silicon Valley. Migs himself is a venture capitalist. He's the investor guy. If you have good ideas on the opportunity side, the solution side, if you need to raise money, or if you know people who want to raise money, we can always connect them to people and make things happen. So thank you
See,
so much.
investment is completely about, here's the opportunity, or if you get an entrepreneur or a founder who is willing to deliver you that opportunity, then investors will back it. Of course, there's a bit of marketing कि कैसे आप investor को convince करोगे, but that's a second level problem. मैं एक चीज विक्स ऐड करूंगा केस स्टडी में कि जो थर्ड क्वेश्चन है जो हमारे लोग आंसर करेंगे, वो हेमंत ने काइंड ऑफ ऑलरेडी आंसर कर दिया है. And and if we ask Hemant to write that third point, he can do it right now, but we've just stopped short of asking that third point directly.
नहीं
So
नहीं,
that's
ठीक
my
है, तो पूछ लेते हैं. देखो, it's part of a group discussion, right? But if at the end of the
exactly.
day, if we can come up with a one-page letter that we can publish on our site, we can give it to the multiple IAS IEM combinations we have interviewed and say कि यार सही लोगों के सामने पहुंचा दो. ये IIM की तरफ से फीडबैक है, IIM alumni और हेमंत जो अभी माउंट एवरेस्ट जाकर आया उसकी तरफ से फीडबैक है. तो वो 3 पॉइंट क्या होगी? तो हम सोचते हैं कि टूरिज्म ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट होना चाहिए. हम सोचते हैं परमिट फीस फॉर ओवर टाइप डेस्टिनेशन, एयरपोर्ट पे फी लगा दो, इट्स अ सिंपल इम्प्लीमेंटेशन. एंड व्हाट इज द थर्ड? हेमंत, आपके दिमाग में कुछ है कि and then we can open it up. Let's see what other people come up with, and then we can
Absolutely.
come up with
I think
Absolutely.
we should.
We'll come up with those.
I think we should just open.
Yeah.
I think we should just open it up for
open up for
everyone.
people to see कि
For the third one, yes.
for the third
That will be
suggestion.
really
And
interesting.
something, and it cannot be pie in the sky, and it cannot be blaming कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं है, टॉयलेट नहीं. यार ब्लेम करना बंद करो, ये बताओ सोल्यूशन कैसे करना है, और इम्प्लीमेंटेबल सोल्यूशन बताना. ये मत बताना कि जो कि गवर्नमेंट को इंप्रूव कर दो, वो इम्प्लीमेंटेबल नहीं होता. कुछ ऐसा बताओ कि एक MBA उसको इंप्लीमेंट कर सके, एक IAS उसको इंप्लीमेंट कर सके, एक मिनिस्टर उसको इंप्लीमेंट कर सके. सो TTIs and PODs are implementable. एक ऐसा कुछ हमें और बताओ. So that's the challenge. So Hemant, thank you so much. Next time मैं मिगलानी दोनों 2025 में दिसंबर में आ रहे हैं बैंगलोर. हमारी 25वीं सालगिरह है IIM बैंगलोर में. आपसे जरूर मिलेंगे. And I'll maybe connect with you before that, and maybe we can organize a trip together or something. So you're just an awesome human,
absolutely.
and you're just an awesome human, and thank you for doing what you've done, and thank you for giving us so much of your time.
Thank you for having me, guys. Migs Viks. I didn't realize I think we recorded for some 4 hours, right?